Welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa. Today, I have the honor and the privilege of speaking to the one and only Miss Joquanna Wengerd.
Good
We have
morning.
been, good morning. And if you're watching this in the evening, good evening. But we're recording live, Rise and Shine. You know, the early bird gets the worm. Joquanna and I have been connected through the grand pursuit of real estate investment, business and entrepreneurship, coaching and consulting, and homeschooling. So this woman is like a Renaissance woman. I am so excited to have you here today to chat because I feel like our lives overlap in so many ways. So welcome, love. How are you?
Thank you, Alissa. And I'm so honored for you to say that because I feel like your life is so fabulous. And my life is a work in progress that is fabulous and amazing, but mainly because of the people that I have around me. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting that we kind of all see ourselves and all of our ugly in the, mess drawer and behind the closet stuffed with stuff we have yet to address. We see ourselves in this way, and everyone else we see as like, man, they've got their shit together,
Yeah,
right?
they're spectacular. They got it all together. And I want to be like, but you know what? I want to be like me. I want to
Yes.
be who, God created me to be in the best version of that. So yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so I can relate to that, casting my vision outside and going, I want to become like that, finding those inspirations. But isn't it interesting that we also have like that weird shadowy side of the inspiration is also a little bit of like self-deprecation at times, or like less than-ness. And I know that you and I have had a lot of conversations coming through that resistance to realize it's okay to be amazing and to be a mess all at the same time. It all is happening.
Totally is. It totally is. This is something that we've talked about over the years, especially being in similar spaces. And I'm so grateful that we're able to not just talk about it and have, this open dialogue to be able to vent, but actually see ourselves on the other side and see ourselves for who we really are. Because sometimes it's easy to see other people as being so great and the best at everything. But then when you really take the time to look at yourself and to say, wait, hold up. I can do this. I can do that. I do all these things. I hold all of this on my shoulders. And not only that, but I have the capacity to outsource and to get help. And I'm brave enough to ask for help. It really puts your life into perspective. Yes, I am amazing. I am wonderful. I am a great mom, even when you're going through those tough times. Every kid is different, every person's different. But you know what? We're human. That's who we are. And as long as we're growing out of that, that's what matters.
And I think that's so important that we're growing and
Yeah.
that we have people around us who can reflect the best parts of us back that keeps us whole and keeps us propped up. I've had people come and hear my rise and shines, and they're like, we love the people you hang out with. I'm like, I know, I love them.
Yeah. I love you, girl.
Heck yeah. And I also wanted to just reflect that, we are the sum of the people that we hang out with, so if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong
Yeah.
room. And that puts that, that inspiration and less than dynamic. What do they call that? Structural tension, because that's what our brains need to expand. They need to see a goal and to see where we are and know that there's a gap. That's where all your growth lives,
Yes.
inside of that gap.
Yeah. And it's not just, seeing it, but it's actually like realizing it and stretching yourself. There's this old saying that, well, maybe it's not that old, but it's, as old as time. A woman who is pregnant, she's uncomfortable. She's, going through some things that, are not typical in her life. It's just for a season. But in the end, she's birthing something beautiful. And that's really how life is. We have to stretch ourselves sometimes. We might be a little bit uncomfortable with what we're going through, but we're growing. Something is growing on the inside of us that's going to birth, a whole new, all new possibilities in the world. And that's just what life is. So I can, we're moms, we can relate to that and
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah,
understand that.
gestation and birthing. One of my
Yeah,
previous guests, Ulrike Dietman, we were talking in one of our masterminds about viewing our intellectual property and the programs that we're putting out there and whatnot as, having that allegory to the birthing process. So we as women have a very uh, tangible experience upon which to, put these allegories so that we can say, oh, right. Yes, I created this being and I birthed it and nurtured it, but they have their own personalities. These kids
right.
have their own desires. They have their own life. So when you can see things in that context and put pieces in line that way, it gives you a unique way to say, so how am I in service to this? Not how do I own this? It's how do I
Yes,
support this? And it
yes.
takes a little bit of, I feel like it takes a little bit of that ego out of creation and gives it a lot more meaning and richness, I feel. So I wanted to turn around and ask, where are the places where you found the opportunity, your growth opportunity to be uncomfortable and to go through the, aches and pains of growth in order to get to another growth spurt in your life? And what were those results like?
I would have to say that the first place is motherhood. I honestly think motherhood is harder than marriage. I mean, you're dealing with another adult in marriage. And so you can reason there, but with motherhood, it's like you have this idea of, what your child would be like. And honestly, like I didn't, I had dreams and I just always knew that no matter what, and even still, I want my children to grow up and be better than I am, to be better off than I am, to have more education, to be smarter, to just go a little bit further and reach more people in the world. But as a child, looking at them as children, it's challenging to see those little things when, it's so easy to worry about, what if this small behavior turns into something, really dramatic and really, it's
Yeah.
so, so that has been my biggest challenge, motherhood. But, I do have an older kid, so I've been at this for a few years. And now I see it as, okay, I'm going to give them the space. I'm going to hear them out. I'm going to, work through it. And I'm also going to use my wisdom and my guidance to help them work through it so that we can grow together. I can't control the outcome, but I can guide them and I can help them make the best possible decisions based on the wisdom that I have and the wisdom that I'm still, acquiring. I am a person who, I read the Bible, I go to church. I don't consider myself super religious. I consider myself relational.
Mm.
I am not going to say you're going to hell. I'm sorry for anyone who's offended, but that's not me. I am a person who is going to love you, and I'm going to love you from a place of, where I stand and what I believe. So for my children, I don't expect them to be exactly like me, but I do expect, my beliefs to kind of guide them and, help them grow into the best possible versions of themselves based on, the biblical perspective that I have.
And isn't it
So,
cool when you see like those awarenesses happen and when they incorporate it into their life where they say something, you're like, oh, well, you were listening.
yeah, it's so crazy because, one day you'll be looking at your kid like, where did they get that from? Like, are they watching too much TV? Like, it's just shocking, like some things. And then the next day it's like, oh my gosh, they're telling you and they're like dropping wisdom on, it's like, oh my gosh, my kid's a genius. I don't
Hmm.
know.
And I find that some of that, the growth opportunity in parenting, it relates to how we relate to every aspect of our lives. Like it's a little microcosm for us that is day to day and presence all the time. But how you do anything is how you do everything. So
Yeah,
the fact that you are mostly in your belief system relational and how you are able to influence, impact, and integrate your principles and your divine wisdom that comes through you, I think that says a lot about how you go about some of the other places in your life. It could be your marriage. It could be your podcast. It could be your business initiatives. So, for me, when I got into business in general, I feel like I never stopped being in business. My family was in business, and then I took a few courses at university, popped out with a degree, and then continued. But like, I still embodied all of that learning. I still integrated all of the lessons that I had throughout all the space in my life within my family, and then was looking for other places to apply it. So, can you speak a little bit about what inspired you to start your podcast?
Oh, yes. So, can I actually go back and touch a little bit more on the growth aspect? So
Yeah.
part of the reason why parenting was, such a key moment where I really saw myself beginning to grow is because there was another transition at the time, the time that I became a parent. I was transitioning in careers. And I am a veteran, and I spent a number of years in the military. And so when my first child was born, that's when I kind of made the transition into leaving the military and, focusing on my family more. So I feel like the time that I had, just being young in the military for a number of years and just kind of growing up in the military, that's kind of my key term for it, because I went in, right after high school and spent, over a decade in the military. That does shape you, and that does give you a sort of perspective. And I have to say, like, I was naive about the world. I was naive about a lot of things because in my mind, things were this way. Things were structured, the world ran like this, because that's how my world was. And as a parent, I kind of grew into that. So anyway, speaking of that growth, what kind of inspired me with my podcast is called Hey Little Sister. And I was actually inspired by one of my sisters. I have 10 sisters.
Woo!
10 sisters. And it sounds like a lot. It sounds like like the Loud House, if you know that cartoon, if you have kids, and crazy and all that. But it was really relatively calm growing up because I'm from a blended family. My parents divorced when I was very young. I'm the oldest of all the sisters, all the children, period. I'm the oldest. And my parents had one other daughter together. They both remarried. My mom had 3 additional daughters. My dad had 3 additional daughters. And I have 3 stepsisters. And I also have brothers, but, it's called Hey Little Sister. So, my sisters really inspired me because they call me. They ask me for advice. I call them. I check on them. I love them. They're my sisters, And we vary in age. Like our age range is, I am who I am, and the others are in their 30s, 20s, and one teenager who's 18, one teenage sister who's 18. So over the years, of course, over the course of my life, we've gone through a lot together. We've gone through a lot separately. And me having the foundation that I have, with the beliefs that I have, like you said, everything else kind of stems out of that. My advice is based on that. It's just based on that. And sometimes it's not even really that I'm saying, oh, well, this is what the Bible says, or this is what, it's really like, this is why it makes sense.
Mm.
This is why, this is why I would do it this way. And this is, and there are even times where it's like, my advice and my opinion was based on laziness, but it wasn't really laziness. I learned it was more of efficiency and productivity and just being organized, because I don't want to waste my time doing things that, are taking up so much of my energy. My energy is so important to me. I don't want to use so much of my energy doing mundane things and things that can be automated and things that can be outsourced, when I can spend my time with the people I love, doing the things that I love. So that's basically what inspired me to do my podcast. And one of my sisters, who I'm very close to, she's a senior in college. She's one of the younger ones. She encouraged me to do it. She just kept saying, Joquanna, you should do this. you always have the best advice. Pretty much anytime I gave her advice, we ended our conversation with, you should do a podcast.
Yep.
So that was, how it happened. And then I just decided, well, this is a season where I'm really focused on my family. I stepped away from business in other ways. And, as you know, the audience may not know, but I'm currently expecting my third child.
Yeah.
So, pregnancy is not always easy, it is for some and not for others. And this was a way for me to contribute to my siblings, contribute to the world, really, just to give this gift without really exhausting myself. This was something I was doing anyway. So why not share it? So this was, and it is currently the one thing that I'm kind of keeping my finger on while I'm, transitioning and just kind of focusing on my family.
And that is very elegantly said, stepping back and taking a pause. I find that is very inspirational, that you have the awareness to know that it's no for right now. It may not be no forever. It may not be no for next week even, but
Right.
having the ability, sometimes as women, I find we feel that we need to say yes all the time, or we need to constantly go out of our way to serve and provide for other things that may not serve us at the same time. But I hear the alignment in what you're saying, that it serves me, and as it serves my family, because it serves me, it serves my family. And
Yes.
to me, that I want to also just like pull out the fact that you said, I stepped away from my business. I stepped away from X, Y, or Z initiative. And, I gave myself a whole bunch of shit when I was a new mom, a new wife, and new business owner. I
So did
kind of
I.
jumped in and did all three all at once. And my career self, that was pre-kid, was like, why aren't you doing all this stuff? You should be more productive. And then my lazy self was like, because I can't. Honestly, I'm baking a kid.
Alissa, I'm telling you, this is the way a lot of us moms think, especially when we have thriving careers and we're so used to being productive. We're so used to contributing to something. And when you're pregnant or when you're starting a family and, you're in a new, period of your life, a new season, you don't always see those results right away. You have to wait, sometimes 30 years to see the, what you pour into your kid come out, and we give ourselves a lot of grief over this, and it's not fair. It is not fair. We have to be gracious with ourselves. And this is something we had to learn. I had to learn, we have to be gracious with ourselves. We have to be gracious with those around us. We have to say, listen, we are human beings. We know we have the capacity to do X, Y, Z, but where do we, again, our energy, where do we want to focus our energy? What best serves us? If we focus on that one thing, then maybe we'll be able to, just push this one thing a little bit further instead of being mediocre at at everything. I'd rather be great at one thing than be mediocre at 20 things.
So I have a question for you. What if you have like 5 one things? This is what I find in my multipreneur consulting is that, people like us, we don't sit still. We never have just one initiative going on. And I call it the case of the competing priorities.
I feel like you know what's going on in my life. Because
I see you.
Yeah.
I've been down this road too. So when you see competing priorities, and I'm just going to throw out a couple here because I know that we have some that are interrelated. It's, our environment, how we're raising our children, how we're taking care of ourselves, investing into our marriage, investing into our community, having time for friends and family. Someone makes a podcast so that everybody gets the advice all at once.
I
But
know.
these are, when you say, focusing on the one thing so you don't get scattered, I'm going to pose this question over to you and say, like, is there a way to focus on one thing at a time in context of other things?
Yes, absolutely. So the way I do it, and this is just, this is advice that I would give my little sisters. I would not have two priorities. A priority is a priority, you know, and for me, you know, I made the decision, and honestly, I've been in the season for what, 6 years, 7 years, and I decided, okay, I have 3 to 4 more years just really focused on my family, and everything else is, you know, kind of outside of that. I'm just giving myself this block of time. And anyway, I have my priority, which is my family. Everything else has to kind of support that, or, you know, yeah, basically be a pillar for, you know, the growth of my family, the success of my family. So right now, I actually recently made a decision, and that's why, you know, I feel like you know what's going on. I don't even think we talked about it, but I recently made the decision, okay, you know, in this, you know, after another 3 or 4 years, we're just going to move on, and I will transition to full-time work, and my husband will transition to being the full-time parent at home, because, you know, we homeschool and all of that. So I kind of got a little sidetracked. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I want to take these classes. Maybe I want to go back to school. Maybe I want to do these things. I should prepare for that now. But honestly, you know, you kind of got to keep yourself in track. If it's not in alignment with your overall goals for the one thing, and the reality is we have one life. So we might think, oh, this is a priority, but realistically, we are trying to make our lives the best that they can possibly be for us. So everything really has the same, everything is really supporting our life. Everything we do is just supporting what, you know, our desires are for our lives. So for me, I block schedule, and this is just a practical way of having all of these different ideas and all of these different, you know, assignments that we have in life to support the one priority. My children are first, of course, and they have to, you know, everything that I do is in alignment with my family life, but they don't run my life. They're not the boss of me. They're not like every little whimper and boo boo, and you know, like I can't, and no one should. I want to say this delicately because I love my children, but no one should sacrifice the work that it takes. Okay, let me back up. You said it to me a couple years ago. You said sometimes you have to, how did you say it, Alissa? Oh my gosh, I want to get it right. You said taking care of yourself results in taking care of your family. You use different words, but that was basically it. So even though I am focused on, you know, supporting my family and building my family from the inside out, versus my husband who works outside of the home and he's doing his part from the outside in, I still have a responsibility to myself,
Yep.
not to neglect myself, not to you know, just put everyone else in front of me, because I can't pour out what I don't have in me.
Exactly.
So for me, the practical, you know, thing that I do is I block schedule. I schedule, you know, our schooling first, and obviously meals and everything that supports that. And then when it comes time to the lesser priorities, I should say, um, they are in conjunction with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think it's you're on point about, you know, you can't give from an empty cup. You know,
Right.
it's the
And I'm
very
sorry if I'm
thing.
rambling. I just,
No, you're no,
okay.
you're getting to it, but you're pulling in what needs to color the context to align your point. And
Yes.
because when we focus on ourselves and not depleting ourselves for everyone else, where I believe that conversation came from was the tendency to do to deserve, right? That tendency people have
Yes.
to give of themselves so that they can feel worthy to receive, and that how that paradigm is upside down in many people's mental space and spiritual space, because when you give to others with the expectation that that will then create the deservedness for you to be able to be fulfilled, that's really going the very, very scenic route to self-worth, and
Absolutely.
it creates um, um, discontent. You become, you start to, what's the word? You start to
Resent.
resentment. Yeah,
Yeah,
you start to resent the things that you're giving to because it's at the expense of you. And
exactly.
and so it does seem selfish out there in the general narrative to spend time on oneself. And it's not like we're going to the spa where our kids are running amok and breaking stuff and not having hospital care, right? But
Right.
it is about being very intentional and setting up time to provide the space for us to be our best and serve from that full cup. And for me, that looks like, for you, it looks like block scheduling to make sure you know what comes next in what order. And for me, the priority that I had to put in place in order to behave that way and to embody that principle was the hour of power or the miracle morning or whatever you call that, where I have literally every single day of the week, 7 days a week, all right, maybe six. It's it's 1 to 2 hours of journaling, meditation, reading, stretching, walking, and water. Those are my like non-negotiable self-care things that once I take care of those things, the rest of the day could be a giant chaotic mess, but I'll joyously be in it. If
Right.
I
And I
have
love that for
sacrificed
you.
that.
I love that so much. I have a similar thing with my schedule. I wake up earlier than my children. That is my personal time. And then, of course, there are occasions where they wake up or, we may have a rough night, but that is my time to pray. That is my time to meditate. That's my time to work out. I have those couple of hours in the morning. And then by the time they're up, I'm not, always dragging myself out of bed. I'm there for them. I'm showing up. I have breakfast ready, things like that. I love that. I love that for you.
Yeah. So and so this is where we vibe. Our number one guiding principle, and the reason why I think we related to one another at the outset from everything, is we were intellectual, no BS business women with a fierce passion for family. And
Yes.
so I'm so grateful that you were here with me today. And I want to encourage anybody who's watching this conversation to go check out Hey Little Sister. You have it up on Spotify, right?
Yes, I do. Hey, little sister.
Yeah. And to engage with us here in the comments, because this is just the beginning of a conversation. And so I have a feeling you might be back on this show sooner than later, where we can talk a little bit about, females and entrepreneurship. Like the conversations are endless, but everybody, this is what happens in these rooms. You are in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. I'm going to put some stuff in our show notes so you can find Miss Joquanna whenever and wherever you are in your audio space to help you find your center and to help you get really good life advice. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And just give us a quick outro of where people can find you and connect with you.
Thank you, Alissa, so much. I really enjoyed being here today. Thank you for letting me ramble. You can find Hey Little Sister on Spotify, and you can find me on Facebook at Joquanna Wengerd.
Right on. And in the meantime, oh, there we go. And in the meantime, rise, shine, get up, get out there and get after it, everybody. Have
Oh,
a really great
I
day.
apologize. You can also find me on Instagram at Joquanna.
There you go. See you over there on the interwebs. Bye, everybody.
Bye.